29th consecutive sellout, sold out all year. Gate was 4.4 million. The fight of the night was Till and Duplessis, and performance of the night, since it's the holidays and I'm in a good mood, I gave everybody who got to finish $50,000. So there's a lot of them.
All right, so you're in a good mood. I mean, I don't know that everybody is right now. Kind of a wild ending, right? I guess give us your thoughts on the main event.
What are you going to do? I think the main event was terrible. What are you going to do?
What about the scoring of it itself?
We've seen this. This is nothing new. It's like the Paddy Pimblett fight. It's like Gordon had a horrible game plan going into that third round. You think you won the first 2 rounds with the judges? I mean, how do you know that? Why go in there and throw away the third round and not go in and fight your ass off and try to win? If you think you know who won what round or whatever, you're crazy. I've been doing this for 23 years. I have no fucking idea what those guys are going to do or what they're going to say. So, yeah.
Did you have anybody winning in the main event? Did you have it?
I don't even know. I started to zone out after like fucking 3 rounds. So, I heard that Ankalaev is upset and whatever. What do you want me to do? You got beat up the first 2 rounds and you took him to the ground. You started. What are you going to do?
Well, I guess the question is, what do you do now, right? I mean, you
Well,
got a vacant title, a split.
You do Glover versus Jamal Hill in Brazil for the vacant title.
Is that done?
Done.
Thanks for breaking some news there.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right.
That's what I do.
And then, oh yeah, you're always so giving,
Yeah.
especially on fight night.
That's
You love
me.
Matchmaking on fight night.
It's Christmas.
And I guess I did want to ask you about what you thought about the Paddy Pimblett score as well, but there's a lot of kind of going back and forth on that one as well.
The same thing. You know what I mean? I thought that Jared Gordon's game plan in the third round was horrible. He felt like he had the first 2 rounds, and he went in and pushed him against the fence. And I got to go after the ref, too. A big fight, co-main event, third round, crowd's going crazy, and you're going to let him stand against the fence the entire fight? But these are these things that happen. What are you going to do? Horrible game plan by Gordon. The ref let it happen, and he threw the fight away. He was doing great in that fight. He should have fought the third round.
Last thing for me, you made a trip into the cage after Santiago Ponzinibbio and Alex Morono. Don't typically do that after every fight, so just want to know kind of what the message was there.
Yeah, I just had so much respect for him. He took the fight on short notice, was winning the fight going into the third round. He rocked Ponzinibbio, and then now on the flip side, Ponzinibbio's corner that round said, "You just this is corner work. You just lost the first 2 rounds. You have to go in there and finish him." And Ponzinibbio went in there, got rocked, and then kept it together and ends up finishing the fight. And Morono fought like a stud. Not to mention the fact too that Ponzinibbio was expecting to fight a southpaw, older guy who's been in some wars, and he ends up in there with this young savage who, can crack. So just have nothing but respect for both guys. And, we give Morono his win money, too.
Yeah, you're in a good mood.
Yeah, I'm raining tonight. Raining. Is that it? I'm done?
No, not quite yet. Dana, what do you do with Darren Till at the moment? Obviously, he's gone through a bad streak, and tonight he had his moments, but he ended up losing again. I'm curious, what do you see as his future? I
mean, that's the fight of the night. I don't think his stock drops at all. If he would have went out there and got destroyed in the first round, like it looked like it was going to happen, but he did the exact opposite. He weathered that storm, stayed out of submissions, and then he comes back, and you think he's going to win the fight. I thought it was an awesome fight. That's why it was fight of the night, and I don't think his stock dropped at all. And for Duplessis, what an incredible win for him. I think that slam at the end, I think that took the life out of Till. Did you hear that when they hit the ground? Yeah, that was brutal. I think that's what ended the fight more than the choke.
Obviously, this is the last pay-per-view of the year. I'm curious, if you look back at 2022, what do you think of it and how the company's done?
It was awesome. 29 consecutive sellouts. And, you know, all the fights this year have been incredible, right up until the main event tonight. But, you know, it's been an awesome year.
Dana, what did you make of Raul Rosas' performance? A lot was made of him being obviously 18. Jay Parent talked a lot leading up to this, and it's a very impressive win by Raul.
Listen, I say this all the time. UFC jitters are absolutely real. It happens to all the guys. I don't care how good you are, how confident you are, all that stuff. It's a real thing, and he overcame it tonight at a very young age. There's a hysterical meme that people were sending me tonight of him in school next week. It's pretty funny if you check it out online. But when you try to wrap your head around that and think about, you know, the tremendous pressure that this kid must be under, and to come in and fight in the UFC, it's awesome.
And then obviously another big win for Ilia Topuria. What did you make of his performance against Bryce Mitchell?
He looked incredible tonight. He went out there and absolutely dominated, and you know, a really badass, tough kid, and he looked damn good doing it.
And he called for the UFC to go to Spain. He said he's actually talked to you about this before in the past.
Well, you know what my answer to that is. We want to go everywhere. So, yes, we want to go to Spain, too. Yeah, I love it.
Is there any update on UFC Africa? Dricus du Plessis was saying that if you're going to go, you should go to South Africa because they have the infrastructure.
Yeah. No. Next year, we're going to dive into that and start figuring out where we think we go and how we do it. Yeah.
Dana back here.
Yep.
Dana, obviously 2022, a lot of the titles changed hands. Once again, obviously one of the best things about the sport, unpredictability, but can you just talk about that from the promotion standpoint, having so many stars go up and go down in a year like 2022?
Well, I think you answered your own question. I think that it's what makes the sport so awesome is that you have no idea how a fight is going to turn out. And, you know, there's so many different ways to win, so many different ways to lose. And it usually happens. It's you know, and if you have some dominant champs like Israel and Usman, and you know, they end up getting beat, especially the way they did this year. It's a crazy sport, man. It's so fun to watch. It's like the Till fight tonight. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I was literally on the edge of my seat through that whole fight because it was so back and forth. And Till survived that first round. Then it looked like du Plessis was tired, and it's awesome. I don't even know what else to say other than it's the greatest combat sport in the world ever.
Earlier this week, obviously the announcement about returning to London with a numbered event. Are things looking like they'll be finalized for Usman Edwards #3, or could we see a bit of a change up?
Yeah, no, that's what we're aiming for. That's what we want. We're going to go to the O2, and yeah, that's it.
And then my final question, just Edmund Shabazian, obviously got back in the win column after a rough stretch. Just what were your thoughts on that fight?
He looked good tonight. He looked good. Came in and did what he had to do. Back was up against the wall, and he came out and won tonight. I love that kid. I'm happy for him.
Happy holidays.
You too, buddy.
Dana,
Hey, Dana.
Yep.
Can you just walk us through the process in making this Glover versus Hill fight? Obviously, this just happened. I know Glover was here. Was Hill here as well? Did you call him? What happened?
We got out of the octagon. We're all bummed out in my green room in the back. And then Hunter and Mick started talking. Hunter had talked to somebody, and Mick had already talked to somebody, and they're like, what about doing this in Brazil? We'll turn it right around and do this thing in Brazil. And everybody started to cheer up a little bit and got a lot more fun back in the green room, yeah.
So fair to say, like, verbal agreements for now, contracts haven't been signed yet?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And just wanted to get an update from you. We haven't heard you in this forum talking about the betting investigation that's going on. I know there's only so many things you can say, but is there any updates you can give us on what's going on currently?
There's literally nothing I can say about that. You know, I did an interview the other day with Akamoto. It was probably the most I've said about this, and that doesn't come out till like next week. But you know, it is what it is. There's an investigation going on, and see how it plays out.
How concerning is this for you about, like, kind of the integrity not only of this organization but as the sport as a whole? Zero.
I'm not worried about it at all. You know, people ask me, well, what were they talking about? Somebody was saying, well, what's the UFC going to do? We let these guys know not to bet on fights, Do you know what the outcome of this is? Like, if I penalize them, you get cut. They're going to go to fucking federal prison. Federal fucking prison. If you're that fucking stupid and somebody else wants to do it, knock yourself out. There's not enough money in it to ruin your life and not go to jail. Go to federal prison. What other question do you have?
I was just going to ask if there's a timeline on when maybe this could be wrapped up. Or
How the fuck would I know? There's an investigation going on. You think the people that are investigating call me and keep me in the loop on this?
I'm not sure what you're being told. That's why I asked.
Why would they tell me? There's an investigation going on a fight that's being fixed. Why would they tell me anything? I know as much as you know.
Fair enough. Thank you, Dana.
You're welcome.
Hey, Dana. On a lighter note, Ilya Taporia, he's got bad blood with Patty the Batty Pimblett. 2 times in a row, they shared pay-per-view cards. During the press conference, they feuded. Just curious, do you have interest in booking them down the line, that matchup, Patty and Ilya?
I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens. It's not anything that we're looking at right now. I mean, the way he looked tonight, I mean, this kid, what is he right now, 14? Yeah. He's, he after tonight, he breaks into the top 10, I'm sure that kid's looking at title. He wants the title, So he's working his way this way.
Lastly, any update with booking a fight with Colby Covington or Jorge Masvidal, 2 top guys in the welterweight division?
I have no idea. I'm not even thinking about that shit right now.
Dana, don't you right?
Yep.
You spoke about the return to London. I know you guys were looking at a stadium show, and obviously you settled on the O2. How close was it to being finalized for a stadium?
Well, we didn't settle on the O2. I mean, the O2 is our spot. That's where we go. That's, those guys have been amazing to us. The energy and the buzz inside that place is always, I tell everybody, if you want to go to a fight in London at the O2. It's unbelievable. People from the UK were saying, why don't you look at Cardiff? Why don't you do this? Why don't you check this place out? So I did. I looked at it. My number one big problem in England is your weather. Let's start there. Weather with an outdoor arena in February or March or whatever, it just fucking spells disaster, I think. And it just didn't work out. A lot of different things that factored in it not working out, but I'm very happy at the O2.
I know, obviously, it's not a done fight yet, but Leon was kind of like, as soon as he won the title, it was like, Dana wants to do the stadium show. Do you think he would be happy fighting in the O2? And, obviously, he'd like to fight in a stadium, right? But for the reasons like you said, maybe it can't be done.
No, it's not that it can't be done. It's like when you talk about going to certain places, like we did outdoors in Abu Dhabi. Odds are pretty good it's not going to rain. When you go to these other places, I'm such a freak about the live show, the live event, and fans being there, and anything that could affect the fight, whether it's rain or wind or, it's tough for me. Even in Abu Dhabi, that night that we did that, it was hot as hell outside in the middle of the night. That has an effect on the fight too. But if there's an outdoor fight, Abu Dhabi's probably the spot.
And finally, what did you make of Rauros' interview where he said he wants the $50,000 to buy his mum a minivan so he could take it to the PI?
I love it. He got it. Congratulations. Minivan on the way.
Thank you.
You're
Dan,
welcome. Yeah.
You're right. Another young fighter, Cameron Simon, opened up the card. I know that you were very high on him during the Contender Series. I just wanted your thoughts on him.
I'm sorry. I zoned out there. What did you ask me?
Cameron Simon, he opened up the card. You were very high on him during the Contender Series. I just wanted your thoughts on him.
Yeah. No. You already said I like him. What more can I say about him? Yeah, congratulations. I love seeing these kids come in off the Contender and do well in the big show and deal with the pressure and all the things that come along with fighting here. Once you get that out of the way and under your belt, probably going to do pretty well.
You announced the theater at the Virgin Hotels on March 11th. I just wanted to know what was the decision to go there. It's a new spot, I'm guessing.
What did you say?
The theater at the Virgin Hotels on March 11th, the new the hotel for the fight night. It was Jamal Elvers, Anthony Smith. I just wanted to know the decision.
We are? No, that's news to me. I didn't even know that. Well, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo are saying that fight is done for March. Confirm or deny that?
Did we announce that?
They have.
They have. I guess it's right then.
And then any news on John Jones versus Francis Ngannou? Is that the way that you're trying to go though?
Guys, I'm not even thinking about that shit tonight. You're asking me shit that could happen in 23, possibly in the summer, and I have no idea.
And then finally, you did say that you're trying to do Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler.
I never said that ever fucking once. This is what happens when you do interviews and people listen to your interviews, and you said, so if Conor McGregor came back right now, who would you be looking at as an opponent? Well, I said, well, if he did, if that happened and that scenario played out right now, Chandler would be a fun fight. Never fucking once did I say we're doing Conor McGregor versus Chandler. I don't even know when Conor McGregor's coming back. And this is why I don't like to answer these kind of questions. Because some fucking idiot somewhere on the internet puts out that that's what I said, and it's not even remotely close to what I said. People write stories off other fucking interviews with other people when they couldn't even ask proper questions. I don't know. I was in a good mood. Now you guys are fucking killing me. I'm
Sorry
kidding.
about that.
I'm kidding.
Taking the bonuses back.
I might not help this mood, Dana.
All right, buddy. What do you got?
I wanted to go back to judging. Sorry about this. Is there anything? I know it's kind of like the tail wagging the dog, but is there anything that the UFC can do, working with the Nevada Athletic Commission, to improve the consistency and quality of judging?
We've been doing it for years. I mean, for 23 years we've been working with these guys on that stuff. But it's not just the Nevada State Athletic Commission. It's other commissions when we go places. You have, I haven't said this in a long time, so things must be better. Don't leave it in the hands of these judges. Don't go out in the third round and think you won the first 2 rounds and push a guy against the cage when you were doing great in the fight anyway. You already were doing great in the fight. Go out and fucking fight the third round, Ponzinibbio's corner told him, you just fucking lost the first 2 rounds. You need to knock him out to win this fight. Right? What you don't ever want to do as a corner is go, oh, you got the first 2 rounds. Let's cruise this round. Stay away from him. Do this or that. You know what I mean? No. I guess unless it's the Usman fight.
Good point. Yeah.
It was probably 4-0 in that fight, and he probably should have pushed him against the fence for the 5th round.
Yeah.
There's... What I said isn't necessarily always true, but you know what I'm saying. When it makes sense. The Paddy Pimblett fight, you could, the first 2 rounds, they were both hitting each other. You don't know how one guy's looking at a fight. When rounds are that close, you don't go and give away the 3rd round.
Yeah, absolutely. And just on a more positive note, it's been a big year for the UFC. What's been your personal highlight from the last 12 months?
I would have to say the consecutive sellouts, to sell out, I gotta keep looking, 29 straight events. It's a big one, man. That's not easy to do, and I'm sure you guys realize too when you're there. It's so fun, the energy in the place. I mean, Orlando last week was, even on TV, it felt like a massive major event. So I love that shit.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
Dana
sir.
in the back.
Yep.
Right in the middle.
Hi.
Hi there. You just mentioned, so there's 29th consecutive sellouts, 29th year of the organization. You don't have your biggest name, Conor McGregor, in a fight this year. What did the organization do to really be able to step it up, especially 2 years out of the pandemic and things being opened up? Can you point to something that you were able to do outside of making particular fights?
Well, that's what we always do. I mean, that's what we've always done. I mean, if you really look at it, in the last 5 or 6 years, Conor's probably fought 4 or 5 times. You know what I mean, right? Is that about right? Would you say? 4 or 5 times in the last? Yeah. So, obviously, it's great to have superstars and do big fights, but, that's what we do. And why do we have 29 consecutive sellouts this year? We went through COVID. That's why.
Kind of sticking with Conor McGregor, Conor has taken himself out of the USADA pool or the VADA pool, and he's talked about being able to take certain drugs to be able to recover from the type of surgery that he's had and the injury he's had.
Who said that? Connor?
Connor.
Okay.
Is there a conversation that UFC has had with the drug organizations talking about fighter recovery? Not so much allowing fighters to skirt around the regulations and the type of recovery drugs that they can take, but there are certain injuries that require doctor intervention that could put them at risk for testing positive. Have you had this conversation internally and with USADA or VADA?
Well, I think that the injury that you're talking about, that the only time that I've ever really seen that is breaking that shin bone. All the guys that have broken that shin bone have the same type of recovery. But as far as conversations that have happened, you'd have to ask Jeff Novinsky that. I don't get involved in the drug stuff anymore. I stay far away from the drug stuff. He's much smarter than me when it comes to that shit. So that's a question for him.
Appreciate it. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too. Thank you.
Dana.
Yep.
You said on Patty Pimblett's podcast that you would like to. You plan on being in more places on the road for fight nights this year.
Yeah.
Do you know approximately what percentage of the fight nights will be on the road?
I mean, if I really had my way and it works out the way that I hope it does, 100% of them will be on the road. Yeah.
Okay. And I talked to DC last month in New York, and he was talking about trying to get wrestlers into the UFC. And I was wondering if you have ever thought about like partnering with USA Wrestling or anything like that to go to some of their tournaments after their tournaments?
Yeah, I mean, wrestling's a massive part of this sport. And, when that whole thing went on a few years ago where they were trying to get rid of wrestling from the Olympics, we fought hard to make sure that didn't happen. But, I mean, we've had a relationship where we end up with a couple of up-and-coming wrestlers. I wouldn't say that we don't have a relationship with wrestling. We do.
With the USA Wrestling organization?
Years ago, it always was a no-brainer for me to have a relationship with USA Wrestling. They didn't want to have a relationship with us back in the day. So, I mean, I got nothing negative to say about them, but...
Do you think with the way that you've built the UFC that they'd be more open to that now?
Probably.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, Dana.
Yep.
On the Contender Series graduates we saw tonight make their debuts, you called Cameron Simon the future earlier in the summer. So what does that make Raul Rosas?
Yeah, it's tonight was a big night for him. He's so young. He's so young. We haven't the closest to him I think is Vitor Belfort when he was like 18, was fighting in the UFC. And like I said earlier, for him to accomplish what he did tonight is amazing. And both of these kids are studs, and yeah, they won their first fight, so it's awesome.
When you look at the performances they made on their debuts tonight, how does that compare to previous Contender Series graduates that have gone on to make their UFC debuts in earlier seasons?
Well, the Contender Series has been massive for us. I mean, it's been an incredible way to showcase new up-and-coming talent. And any of you that have ever been to the Apex for those, it's incredible. It's incredible to be there live. It's one of the best shows we've ever done. And I think that the other thing that's amazing about it, much like Looking for a Fight show, is these kids come in, they're unknown, they don't even fight in the UFC yet, and millions of people know who they are before they ever. I mean, this is this kid's first fight. You hear the place tonight? I mean, it was crazy. It's like, that's the power of the Contender Series. This season of the Contender Series is the first time ever that we were trending worldwide on social media because of contender fights. So the show continues to grow. I think, our contract's coming up here with ESPN, and I think that when we do our next deal, you'll see the Contender Series actually being on linear television.
With Rosas being the youngest UFC fighter, there's no blueprint on how you develop as such a young combat athlete here. How do you handle developing him? Well,
just like any other one. This kid's obviously, he's young, but he's got what a 25-year-old would have that's getting into the UFC. He's special. This kid's different. He's different than a lot of other 17 and 18-year-old kids. The fact that he can come in here at that age with some of these guys that are 25 that have man strength and can hang with these guys, it's impressive.
Cheers. See you next year.
You too, sir. Thank you. You good? Happy holidays, everybody. Thank you.